And welcome back, everyone, to the This Week in Tiger Athletics podcast. As usual, we will catch up on some of the events going on in Fort Hays State Athletics. I'm Boomer Sabata, and I am joined today with the Sports Information Director, Ryan Prickett.
Yeah, Boomer, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very good.
All right, the MIAA tournament was this weekend. How did our men's and women's basketball teams do?
Well, it was an exciting weekend for both teams. We had some fun results happen down there at the MIAA tournament. Our women got all the way to the finals and were able to have the opportunity to play for the MIAA tournament title. And then our men had a very exciting win over Missouri Southern in the quarterfinals, and they were able to make the semifinals before bowing out against Washburn. But to kind of go back on that, the women's tournament, that was a big weekend for our women, and we knew that we had to go play well down there to maybe strengthen our case to get to the NCAA tournament. After we had done the show last week, like I said, we were hoping we'd be in the regional rankings, and we did. We did jump in. We got to number 9, but what that told us was, okay, that means you're not good enough quite yet. You have to be in that top 8. So we had to strengthen our case even more, and I think we just got kind of lucky with the matchups that we were able to draw there to help strengthen our regional case just that much more. Emporia State, even though I think they finished with about 18 wins or something like that this year, they had the strongest strength of schedule in the entire NCAA Division II. So that was huge, just getting to play them for a third time, because that juiced our strength of schedule that much more. And then we beat them in the quarterfinals, it was a 16-game win streak in the tournament. They had won the tournament 5 years in a row. Wow. So that shows you how much of an institution Emporia is on the women's side of things. But we were able to finally snap that run of theirs, and that was a huge win as far as the regional implications were concerned. And then we knew in the semifinals, okay, now you got Pittsburgh State. You're 1-0 against Pittsburgh State this year, and we got to try and get that game too to, because they were number 5 in the region rankings going into this last week as well. And we're like, okay, that's a chance to get another big regional win right there. And we came out of the semifinals. It was a hard-fought game. Both teams, we had a big lead going into the fourth quarter, but we kind of ran out of gas scoring the ball, and then all of a sudden Pittsburgh made a run. They weren't hitting shots very well all day long, and then all of a sudden they heated up late, but ultimately they just struggled at the free throw line all day long, and they just couldn't make key free throws down the stretch to scare us any more than what they did. So we were able to get out of that game and get to the finals against Lindenwood, but another huge win there. So, and then the finals, unfortunately for the women, I don't know if they just ran out of gas. It's a lot of games, 3 days in a row. And we just didn't hit shots. I mean, it just boiled down to, you could probably blame all sorts of different things, but quite honestly, it's just we didn't put the ball in the basket, and we had our opportunities, and to get a big lead early and just let Lindenwood right back into it, because we just couldn't, hit anything. It was a frustrating game to watch, and you just figured, that we had such a great chance to win that MIAA tournament title, and unfortunately that one slipped through our hands. But when all the dust settled by nightfall and 9 o'clock rolled around and the NCAA selection show came on, we were lucky enough to find out that our women did make the NCAA tournament by what they accomplished down there. So you talk about a crazy 4 weeks of 2 weeks you're not even in the region rankings, and you're wondering what the heck do we got to do to get in those things, because my Lord, we have a really good team, and the record, we were just all scratching our heads like, why are we not in that top 10? Then all of a sudden we show up just before we go to the conference tournament. It's like, okay, now we know we need to make something happen, but at least you're acknowledging us. We're in the region rankings. Okay, so we're here. So but anyway, it was great that all that worked out the way it did. And unfortunately, with that upset of us in the finals, since Lindenwood was the 9 seed in the tournament and we were the 3, by them winning the MIAA tournament, they got an automatic bid to the regional. So they basically just stole a team's bid out of that top 8, and whether that team that it happened to be was Pittsburgh State. So it's amazing how Pittsburgh State goes into that week number 5, and all of a sudden, just by losing one game against us and not evening up the head-to-head with us, since we are 2-0 against them for the year, that basically, in essence, just flip-flopped where us and Pitt were in those rankings. And by Lindenwood stealing an automatic towards the bottom, then all of a sudden that threw everything into chaos. And so Central Oklahoma also got left home. Very, very good team this year. But they got beat in the quarterfinals to a team they weren't supposed to get beat by. And that definitely weakened their case since they were sitting at 6, and that backed them right out of there too. So it was a crazy weekend to see how all that shook up in the region rankings. And so lo and behold, our women are in the NCAA tournament. So
fantastic.
Yeah, it's an awesome deal for them, and they'll be competing in that this coming weekend, and that's going to be up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Augustana pulled through as the number 1 at the end, even though they were kind of lurking at number 3 for a while. Number 1 and 2 didn't do much at their conference tournaments, so the committee said, well, we're going to give it to the team that battled hard at the end. And so we're going to be going up to Augustana University's campus this weekend. The schedule of games are Friday, Saturday, and then Monday is the championship. So you got your quarterfinal games on Friday, your semifinals on Saturday, and then Monday night is the championship game. So we do know our game time. We just found it out before I came over for this today. We're going to be playing at noon on Friday, and we're playing Southwestern Oklahoma State in that first round. And they were the Great American Conference regular season champions, but they got knocked out of their conference tournament in the semifinals. So it's going to be an interesting matchup there. Very run-and-gun style of team. They love to score points. They have a tremendous player that can put a lot of points on the board if she's got it going. And she's got some height, too. But we also have height that, disrupts some things on the perimeter, and might be a tough matchup for them, and we defend pretty well. So it's going to be kind of some contrasty styles there of, we defend the ball pretty well, and they love to score it. So we'll see what kind of wins out, I guess, in that opening round matchup coming up this week. So,
and a lot of postseason play for the Tigers. We talked about the women's basketball team.
Yeah.
What other teams have a lot on their plate this postseason?
Yeah. I mean, this is a big week as far as postseason's concerned. We've got wrestling. We got 4 guys that are going to nationals there this week, and that's going to be up in Iowa. I think Cedar Rapids is the town, but anyway, that's where they're going this week. And then also track and field will have a handful of athletes, all males, that got in. We didn't know last week's show like who all had qualified yet, but for distance events we have Brett Meyer and Dean Cronin, and then over in the pole vaulting we have Jake Morrow and Sam Dreiling. So those 4 qualified for nationals, and they're going to be competing this weekend in Pittsburgh, Kansas, at that nice indoor facility they have down there for track and field. So anyway, yeah, it's a big weekend. We got 3 different postseason type events going on this week, and spring sports are still going. We got baseball this weekend at home against Central Missouri. Softball is going to be going on the road for a couple more conference games, and then also tennis got their season cranked up this last week too. So now we got a whole handful of things going on. So the overlap season is in full swing right now, winter and spring.
Yep,
so
definitely. That'll do it for this week's edition of the This Week in Tiger Athletics podcast. On behalf of our sports information director, Ryan Prickett, I'm Boomer Sabata saying goodbye and go Tigers.